In this lecture, we will explore the importance and benefits of data classification and how you can classify your data in Azure SQL database. Now, data classification is the process of organizing data into categories or classes based on its sensitivity and criticality. By classifying data, organizations can understand the value of their data, determine the appropriate access controls, and protect their data from unauthorized access. Azure SQL provides data classification feature that helps organizations to classify their data based on sensitivity levels. It is a part of the Azure Information Protection Service. It enables an organization to automatically or manually classify data based on sensitivity levels and apply policies to protect data in real time. It's a simple method, yet effective solution that enables organizations to meet regulatory compliance requirements, protect sensitive data, and minimize the risk of data breaches. There are several benefits of data classification in Azure SQL database. Data classification in Azure SQL helps organizations to comply with various data protection regulations such as the GDPR, which stands for General Data Protection Regulation, and HIPAA, which stands for Health Insurance, Portability and Accountability Protection Act. It also enables organizations to identify and protect sensitive data by applying policies that restrict access to sensitive data. Not only that, it also helps organizations to identify potential risk and prioritize data protection efforts. And by identifying and classifying sensitive data, organizations can reduce the cost of protecting data by applying appropriate policies to protect the sensitive data. There are 3 ways which you can classify data in Azure SQL. You have the option for automatic classification. This is where the Azure SQL database uses machine learning algorithm to scan data and classify it based on predefined sensitive labels. You have the custom classification method, where you can create custom rules to classify data based on a specific criteria such as a keyword, regular expressions, or patterns. And lastly, you have the manual classification. This is where you can manually classify data by applying sensitive labels to columns or tables in the Azure SQL database. Azure SQL data classification is an important feature that enables organizations to protect data, comply with regulatory requirements, and reduce risk of data breaches. By using Azure SQL data classification, organizations can easily classify their data based on sensitive levels, apply appropriate policies to protect sensitive data, and can reduce the cost of data protection. Now let's head over to SQL Server Management Studio to learn how you can classify data in Azure SQL database. To get started with data classification, head over to Azure Portal. And this configuration is done at the database level, not at the instance level. So you want to ensure that you are selecting the database. Once you have selected your database, scroll down to the section where it says Security. Then select Data Discovery and Classification. Here on the Overview tab, it's not showing any table that contains sensitive data or any unique information types. So select the Classification tab. If you scroll down, here it's saying that 15 columns with classification recommendations. So let's select this option here, and you can choose to select all of them or select only a few from the list. It shows you the schema, the table, as well as the column name, the information type, right? So here you have contact info, credentials, or financial info. So the account number is a financial info. And for the sensitivity label, you have confidential GDPR, so that's for the first and last name, email address, password, all confidential. You can also add your own classification by selecting Add Classification. So you have the option to choose the schema name, the table name, the column that you want to classify, the information type, and this sensitivity label. So I'm going to expand table, and let's say I'm going to select postal code. So for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to say not applicable. For the sensitivity label, you have public, general, confidential, confidential GDPR, highly confidential, and highly confidential GDPR. So I'm going to say general for now. Then select add classification. Now select save. So because the column is now classified, it is no longer showing in this list here. So to proceed, I'm going to select accept selected recommendations. So here we have the address code which I added to the general, and these were the ones that were automatically classified. So select save. The classification has been saved. We can also add classification from SQL Server Management Studio. So I'm going to head over to Management Studio now to demonstrate how you can achieve this. To view a list of columns that are already classified, you can use the sensitivity classification view, which is in the schema. So I'm going to execute this, and here I'll see the 4 columns which were already classified. To add a classification, you can use the add sensitivity classification T-SQL. It takes the column name, you can specify the label and the information type, and the rank for the classification. So to keep this simple, I'm just going to keep this as confidential, and then I'm going to set the information type to general. So let's execute this. Now let's view the list of classification. Now we have 5 classification. Now if we go back to the portal and refresh, now you can see that we have 5 columns being reflected on the portal. You can also filter by table, filter by name, filter by information type, or filter by sensitivity. So if I was supposed to select confidential only, select all. Let me select that and then select confidential. Then you'll only see data that is classified as confidential. Now when we go back to the overview, you'll get a nice little dashboard of your classification. Under the label distribution, we have 4 columns, right? 2 confidential GDPR, 1 confidential, and 1 general. On the information type distribution, we have 3 columns in total. So it's 2 name column and 2 contact info. You can also add your own custom label by selecting configure, select create label, and then specify the name for your label, the description, and then decide how you want to rank the sensitivity of that label. So I'm just going to select cancel here. You also have the option to configure or even delete existing label. So if I select public and then select configure, then I have the option to change the description or even change the rank. So I'm going to select cancel to exit. So I'm going to exit this again. And now you can also export the data. Now let's select download. Let's open the classification report, and this is what the data looks like when exported. So I'm just going to go back to the classification tab for now, and I'm going to accept the other classification recommendations. So I'm going to select this option here, select all, and then accept recommendations. Now I'm just going to go back to the overview tab, and you'll get a complete overview of the classification that we now have in place.